scenarios, how quick do we forget that it is this same ODM that in the year 2022 during elections, in order to get Governor Wanga into office, the same guys are the ones who sponsored. They called out the General Service Unit, the GSU, to beat up people in Homa Bay Town. Homa Bay Town was inhabitable. You couldn't walk in the streets because Governor Wanga was to be put into that seat. You see? So these are the things we now have to expect, that being that we say that Homa Bay County is a stronghold, is one of the strongholds of ODM. You remember very well that the natives there were being beaten up mercilessly by the General Service Unit. And the returning officer alifichwa, alienda wakapotea na returning officer. You see? So how quick do we forget? How quick are we to forget these kind of scenarios zenye zilifanyika, that we know what ODM is? Unaona? So who are we to expect much from the ODM when we know how they move or what they do? Now, how quick are we to forget that Musando died? And Musando, before his death, alisema kwa national television that there is nothing like kuiba kura. Unaona? And it will be, and the ODM guys went on to announce that 10 million strong, And then after Musando was killed, the ODM remained vocal to say that there must be justice. The killers of Musando must be found and brought to the book. Justice must be found. But what about after they got into bed with the government? They forgot the things that they were saying that they needed to have been accomplished. So there are people who will speak. They say that if it's against them, if it works against them, then it's wrong. But if it works for them, it's right. So somebody also once said that everybody is a thief until they find out. Everybody, unaweza pata kama like these ODM guys, they claim that others are stealing. But once they get an opportunity, it's when now you realize that these guys are better expert in theft of public resources than any other person else. So how quick are we to forget that these are the same guys who were there when these things were being stolen? Now, from the counties that they've been serving, who are we to forget that these are the same guys who are part of the problems that we are fighting to ensure that we establish? So what comes into my mind when I realize that this is the same ODM, that right now, when now they are getting now into bed now, we realize the government we are fighting, it's because they have stolen the resources. What do we expect they're going to do? Are they going to stop the theft? No, they're not going. They're rushing in there so that they can also take the resources that are there. You remember the government of ODM during the campaigns of 2022, how were they treating the others? And that is where William took advantage. You see, they were talking like the kinds of how Junet was talking. Hata akiona hawa nani imekuwa at least. Who is it that will forget how the kinds of these other ODM guys were talking to people, to guys? How they were addressing people so arrogantly. In fact, you remember that during the time that ODM were in bed with the government, during 2022, we had people being found in Yala. So what do we expect from these other guys, from these guys? It was in their time that they were in bed with the government that people were disappearing. Unaona? Watu walikuwa wanapotea Yala. So these are the same guys. So they're in the same government. Unaona? We as youths, we are advocating for change. We are advocating for a better country. Yet we are putting our hopes and prayers upon those guys that they do these things better than the people we claim should live. So it's like they're calling up. In fact, they must have joined the student. Ruto was a student. Now he's joining, the master is coming to join him. Unaona? Now, what kind of life do we expect? What kind of a better country do we expect? Raila have always, and the ODM have always flourished, and they have grown due to the situation of people in Kenya. People are claiming that why is it that Siaya is not that much developed, yet Raila claims that it can do much development. And that is where you realize that resources in Siaya County are disappearing. Unaona, where are they going? To it has been made like Siaya County is now like family resources being taken into the pockets of the guys related to Raila Odinga, and the ODM guys are looting Siaya County. The same is happening in Homa Bay County. The same is happening in Migori County. And if you fail to cooperate, then you become the bad guy. Now, we remember very well, and how quick are we to forget the events that happened during the Obado and Sharon stuff? Obado was against Raila Odinga, and the ODM, and the elections were approaching to replace the senator. So the competitor to ODM was very strong, and by then Obado was a rebel. And if in any case Obado was out to campaign against Raila Odinga, then the ODM fraternity were going to lose. So how is it that we can forget to not to even look at it widely and ask ourselves, what if it was a move that was made and geared by the ODM fraternity to ensure that they put Obado in a certain trap, unaona, so that even as much as we claim that Obado was also guilty, we know that very well. But let us not forget the side of the ODM, that ODM were the people, were the greatest beneficiary in that scandal, whereby Obado was held in remand until the campaigns and elections were complete, were done. You remember that? That is what happened. So how quick are we to forget the scenarios around all that? So we as the youth that have been growing up, knowing how all these things are being orchestrated and they are happening, and at this time that now the ODM that we know are in bed with the government, they're the people who uses this government to do the evil. But then we cannot forget that Otieno Kajwang the late passed on at the time when we expected Raila Odinga to retire and go home. You remember that? How quick are we to forget that at the time that the late Gerald Otieno Kajwang passed on, Kenyans expected Raila Odinga to retire because he had said in election before 2017, I think it was in around 2013, in the election of 2013, that he said that he had only one bullet, and after that bullet he was not expected to have another, and somebody else could take up after that. So around 2017, between 2017 and 2013. So at that time, we expected Raila after that election, yeye angeretire and could have gone home honorably. But what happened? Let us not forget, guys, Kenyans, that after that, Gerald Otieno Kajwang was a Luo who was most loved after Raila Odinga, and was loved and known in the entire country, and by all Kenyans. Gerald Otieno Kajwang was loved and was expected could be somebody who could take up that mantle after Raila Odinga. And then what happened later on? Raila Odinga came back politically. Who was the beneficiary was Raila Odinga. What was his comeback? That I've lost my friends. I've lost my friend, and he was killed, and I must come back now and do what? And lead to solve this issue. And due to the anger, unaona? So who was the beneficiary of all these things? We need to wake up and ask ourselves questions, because it is said that in politics, if a politician stands to say this, he means the other thing else. You see? So let us widen on how we look at these things. Now, my suggestion going forward, we know quite well that there are people who are coming up after us. These are people in high school and in primary school. As far as, or as much as we are fighting this battle, so that we can see that these, the 90s, these politicians who have been there for all these years, and they're the people who are benefiting out of our ignorance and poverty. Unaona? Yesterday evening after KOT, yesterday evening after having a conversation in the evening, I went for a walk and I asked a few guys, I'm in Eldoret actually, and I asked a few guys, my Kale friends, and asked them that why do you really go to the ballot to vote? And most of them were just saying it's because it's their democratic right to vote. Is it really that's why we usually go to vote? And that is why people will vote in their uncles, even when they know that their uncles won't do anything to them, won't serve them anything. And that is why people will just vote their friends without anything, without having any reason to serve. So we need now to carry out an education to make people understand that it is in this ballot, and for the reason, and it is in that ballot that we have the free education we are trying to advocate for. That it is in that ballot that we have got the good medical services. That it is in that ballot that we get rid of fake fertilizers. That it is in that ballot that we get good governance. You see, that it is in that ballot that we can drive this country forward and have good policies so that we don't have abductions in our country, so that we get rid of extrajudicial killings. It is in that ballot. That is the power of the vote. How can we make all these people understand this? That it is in that ballot that the cost of pads can really get to go down. How can we get these people to understand this? We need now to carry out a nationwide teaching and training. We have all come up to Metoka. We all went to high schools. Now we are alumni of various high schools. Why can't we get back, team up with all those who, to the schools that we went back there, then turudi huko kwa hizo mashule to organize even alumni meetings. We go back to those schools, we mentor those students from the universities that we have. Between an MCA and alumni who is in the University of Nairobi, JKUAT, KU, Moi, and any other institution all over the country, if you go back to your institution, have a conversation and a meeting with those students who will be listened to between the MC and you, automatically it will be you guys. It will be us, the youths. We, the youths, can have the mentoring. We have that power to mentor them more than even these other politicians. Let us go build more Gen Zs down there. Let us help them understand the power of the vote. And let them go back home and influence more in those in primary schools that they went to. So if we carry out this one, then we shall have built more soldiers that even after our exit, those who will be coming behind us will have a long fight, so that this fight doesn't end with us. But we have mentored many other more soldiers. Now, let us also come up with a list of the places we want to occupy. Even if there are 45 places, even if there are 100 places, let us come up with a list of where we should and what reforms we need to be done. Once we have this list, let us now indicate even if Kamani, because these guys are also trying to follow up and know where we are going, and what we are doing. Now, if we have a list and say that today we are going to occupy 34, and we know that occupy 34 means JKIA. Yet the list ilikuwa imetolewa even a month ago of these places. Then we just wake up and say, today we are occupying 34. You see, most of them will not know that what is the 34. But for us, we shall have known clearly that 34 is this. And if a member fellow youth asks you what is 34, you explain to these guys 34 is this and this. Let us go to 34. Let us occupy number 2. Number 2, then we know very well that occupy number 2 is going to State House. Then number 2, we know we must go to State House. And guys, let us not forget that Gachagua was the beginning of all these problems we are experiencing today. We are focused so much in correcting Ruto and forgetting Gachagua. And Gachagua is trying now also to be like Raila Odinga. You see, he's also trying to hijack whatever is going on. But let us remember that Gachagua told us on our faces that there are no jobs. Yet we went to the ballot so that they could create job opportunities. Why do we then have elections after every 5 years? And why do we get in? We get them there. We got them there. If they couldn't have a solution to all this, we got them so that they could create opportunities and identify those opportunities for us. Not to go there and tell us that there isn't any of the opportunities. So, guys, let us stand up. Let us stay focused. Let us stay determined and strong forever. Let us stand up for one and for all. And to my fellow Gen Zs, everywhere you go, tembea na firimbi yako kwa mfuko. If in any case umeona gari inataka ku abduct, kindly let us pass this information. Mimi natembea na firimbi yangu. Blow your whistle and we will know there is a whistleblower. Then to everyone else and to the general public, let us also share with them that if you hear somebody blow a whistle and is being abducted by anybody who is in civilian, even if there is a one police officer and people who are masked, kindly let the general public respond and ask, why are you harassing or abducting this person? Why can't you summon him and come to the police station? And that is a way that we can also stand up to support and defend our fellow soldiers so that we don't let them get scared. The reason why people are getting scared right now is because when somebody is being abducted, people are standing and creating that gap to distance themselves instead of rushing there to save this other guy. If we stand up for one, then we stand up for all. Then that is all my say for now. Thank you very much. Someone may take over.